Welcome, one and all, to another episode of Pacific 4 and 4 Episode Reviews. I'm your host, Mike, and tonight, for the final time of the year 2020, I'm going to be doing a Star Trek Discovery episode, of course. And this episode is episode 12 of season 3, There Is a Tide. Now, to catch you up on what happened last week, at the end of last week's episode, Sakul, the ship and crew of the Starship Discovery were taken hostage by the Emerald Chain under the command of Osira. And last we see is Booker and Michael Burnham watching Discovery use its warp drive and jump toward Federation space, Federation headquarters. So, when this episode picks up, we see Booker and Michael Burnham on Booker's ship, and they're traveling at either transwarp or, it could even be the slipstream velocity, and they're trying to race against time to intercept Discovery before it reaches Federation headquarters. And they do eventually catch up to Discovery by avoiding various ship debris and other debris as they're traveling through the transwarp conduit. And the only way for them to get back on to Discovery as it approaches Starfleet headquarters. Also, while this is happening, Discovery is under attack by Osira's ship, the Viridian, trying to make a convincing ploy so Starfleet will let their guard down and let Discovery inside. Well, yes, that does end up happening, but what also ends up happening is Booker's ship ends up crash landing inside Discovery's shuttle bay. And of course, then what ends up happening, you've got Discovery inside Starfleet headquarters. You've got Booker and Burnham on board Booker's ship. And the rest of Discovery's crew is held hostage, of course, like I've said. But they've got to get on board. Booker and Michael Burnham have to get on board. And there's only one way for them to get on board, and that's by hiding their life signs. But unfortunately, Booker has only one device that'll allow them to disguise their life signs, and of course, it goes to Michael Burnham, the star of the show. So, you know, what ends up happening is, Booker mentions that after the fire suppression systems go down, that, because Michael Burnham knows the layout of Discovery better than Booker, that she's the one that has to rescue the crew, hence is why she gets the device that masks her life sign. So Michael Burnham gets on board, and while on board, one of the things that ends up happening is she encounters one of the Emerald Chain's guards and gets into a fight with him. He pulls out a knife and stabs her in the upper thigh, and she manages to wrap her legs around him and she strangles him to death. So that ends up happening, and Michael Burnham has to pull this knife out of her thigh, and she's bleeding profusely and has to drag herself down the corridor. And then we also see in this episode, as Discovery was approaching Federation headquarters, Admiral Vance and staff at Starfleet headquarters, doing their preps, and Admiral Vance giving orders to ready the shields. And when they, lo and behold, realize that it's a trap, they have all weapons target Discovery. And one of the things I did note, I know this is just a minor little thing, and it really means nothing to most of you probably, but the klaxon Federation headquarters was also the klaxon used for Voyager and the Enterprise E. So there was that in there, a familiar red alert klaxon going off. And so, back on Discovery, you know, you have characters, Zara or Zarek, he's there. He goes into the ready room where Discovery's bridge crew is being held, and he's the guy from Discovery's second episode where it was kind of that western town, and it was Saru and Tilly who went out to find out the lay of the land and find out if there's any communications device and stuff like that. Well, he's the one that ended up having to go out in the cold of that planet. And as I had mentioned, in that planet, the ice was this bacteria where at night it would eat away at alloys and, of course, flesh. Well, Zara, or Zarek, is in the ready room, and he's throwing his weight around. He's intimidating Tilly as much as he can, and he also shows his left hand, and it's frostbitten and has all sorts of damage being out in the cold. So there's that reacquaintance, and you have Ren, who used to be part of the Emerald Chain and joined the Discovery crew once Michael Burnham and Philippa Giorgio were rescued from that labor camp in the episode Scavengers. And, of course, Zarek knows who he is, and they're familiar with one another. And, of course, they're all being kept alive per Osira's orders, because what Osira is trying to negotiate with the Federation is an armistice. She wants to combine the powers of the Emerald Corps with the remnants of the United Federation of Planets to create a new federation. And she brings this proposal to Admiral Vance. He looks it over. One of the things that you notice in this episode, they're talking about the food replicators and everything. And Vance happens to mention in this episode that the episode, well, I shouldn't say the episode. He mentions the fact that everything that's on the tray, the fruit and everything, it's been replicated from replicated fecal matter, or the fecal matter from everybody on board Federation headquarters. Now, if I recall correctly, and I could be wrong, I'll admit when I'm wrong, but I thought the food replicators on Next Generation, I thought it was said that it could replicate the matter just like the transporter. It uses transporter technology to replicate energy into matter, into the food, and using some raw materials. So you could say that using the fecal matter is the raw material being used, just like Vance said. As he eloquently puts it in the episode, it's made from our shit. Yeah, well, there have been times this season and watching the past two previous seasons that I felt that this show was shit. So take that for what it's worth. But anyways, Admiral Vance is looking over the armistice, and he's asking questions. Who's going to be the liaison, to represent the Federation and, scientific matters. This person can't answer to you. And Admiral Vance is using a hologram that's able to detect whether a person's lying or not. And, this hologram will say, she's telling the truth. That's a lie, which she does, after being asked by Admiral Vance, who's going to represent the Federation in matters of scientific means and diplomatic means, you know, not to violate the Prime Directive. And, meanwhile, on board Discovery, Michael Burnham, is able to make her way into engineering after fending off one of Osira's guards who was crawling through the Jeffries tube after Zara discovers that there is somebody crawling within the Jeffries tube and sends some troops to intercept. And of course, that person being Michael Burnham. And she manages to thwart the attack of this guard who ends up going out into the vacuum of space. And then what ends up happening, I know I'm probably skipping over many parts, but if you've watched my episode reviews before, you know I skip over parts. But then what ends up happening is Michael Burnham, comes down from the Jeffers tube, gets on the comm, taunts Zara a little, and she manages to make her way into engineering, where Stamets has been freed from the mind control device because there's a scientist who is part of Osira's team, and he's trying to learn from Stamets how the spore drive works. And of course, they're talking back and forth, and Stamets is mentioning how Osira is using this particular individual, and this particular individual is in a wheelchair, and he's holding his hand like this, and I'm only mentioning this fact because I myself hold my hand like this a lot of times, and I'm going to tell you exactly why. It's because I have cerebral palsy. So that's why there are times I hold my hands like this. That's why you see certain movements when I do my reviews or live streams, whatever it be. But I'm not saying that to gain any sympathy. I'm saying that because in the episode, I am speculating that maybe this particular character is supposed to have, some sort of disability, because he does mention the fact that in his time, someone like him wouldn't survive because of his ailment. Well, let me just say one thing about that. I don't care what century you're in, whether it be the 20th century, now, or in the future. Because there are those of us with disabilities who know how to survive and who will survive. So that's all I'm going to say about that point. But anyways, getting to the conversation between this scientist and his name was Osidio or Osidia. It wasn't Osira. And anyways, the scientist and Stamets, they're talking. Stamets is trying to, tell him he's on the wrong side, basically. Osira has methods and means that she uses to put fear into people. She mentions the planet Quajon, where Booker's from, and mentions the fact that they developed a pesticide to get rid of one of the native species on Quajon, and I believe it was that worm species that we saw in episode 1, and then we proceeded to see in the episode Scavengers. So, Stamets is having a back and forth with him. He's trying to convince him that he's on the wrong side and he needs to open his eyes and, pull the veil from over his eyes to see what's really going on. And then, Michael Burnham, like I said, makes her way into engineering. She stuns both the scientist and the guard. And, she frees Stamets. And Stamets you know, once he learns that Hugh and Saru are still on that planet where Cool's at, and you know they're not going to survive. And then he also learns that Adira is there. He wants to jump back to the planet and rescue them, but Michael Burnham forbids it. And Stamets is arguing back and forth, saying, we got to go save them. They're not going to survive. But of course, Michael Burnham doesn't want to do it because her goal is to free the crew of Discovery. But Paul Stamets doesn't want to have any part of it. There's even a part in this episode where Michael Burnham puts Stamets in this stasis bubble and sends him out into the vacuum of space after using a phaser on overload. And, before that happens, Stamets says, we came to the future for you. We did this for you. Hugh did this for you. We sacrificed our own lives so we can help you so you wouldn't be alone. And, of course, Michael Burnham is crying, and she says sorry. Stamets is put into the vacuum of space and pulled in by a tractor beam. So there goes the means of jumping at any time using the spore drive. Meanwhile, Ren and Booker are captured after Ensign Tilly and the remaining bridge crew develop a plan to retake the ship. And what ends up happening when Osyraa gets back on board Discovery because the Federation has turned down the armistice is, she's pissed off. She doesn't blame the scientists. She blames Zara. And she ends up killing Ren. And she wants some truth serum to get some information from Booker. So, last we see the bridge crew of Discovery, they're out, they're free, and they're trying to get weapons. They end up getting weapons. And then all of a sudden, they hear a noise. They turn around, and you see these three worker droids, or as they called them, DTC-23 or DCTs. Basically, they're robots. They're droids. They're worker droids who go around the ship, repairing the ship, and doing various other tasks that we still haven't found out about. But anyways, the crew sees them. They have their weapons pointed toward them. Tilly, comes to realize that the spirit data downloaded itself into these droids, because what ends up happening with Osyraa and the Emerald Chain taking over Discovery's computer is they put their own computer information in, and it essentially takes over the main computer and wipes out all information that's on the main computer, except it didn't, since it downloaded to these three DCT units. And what ends up happening is these DTC units say they want to help. So obviously in the season finale of Star Trek Discovery next week, we're going to see the bridge crew and these droids go and free Discovery and save the Federation as we know it. But here's my question. Now, I honestly don't remember the character's name who appeared in episode 1 this season, but he was the lone Starfleet rep on the Starbase waiting to get contact from anyone in Starfleet. And it's where Booker ended up taking Michael Burnham, and she, had mentioned that she was Commander Michael Burnham of the Starship Discovery, and she appoints him officially a Starfleet officer because he'd been waiting, and that's where he, presents the Federation flag. Are we gonna see that character pop up, or was that character just a throwaway character that we see only once in this season, and then we never see that character again? I mean, why are you going to introduce a character and make it appear, at least in my view? I don't know about anyone else. I can't speak for anyone else. I'm not going to speak for anyone else. But at least in my view, make it seem like this character is going to be, you know, an essential part of the season. Are we going to actually see that character? Or, like I said, is that character a throwaway character? We know by the previews of next week's episode that obviously Adira, Saru, and Dr. Colbert are rescued, but you know, what else is gonna happen? You know, what what role is Stamets gonna play in next week's episode? Because he was rescued. He was in that stasis field that allowed him to survive going into the vacuum of space and being pulled in by the tractor beam. So what's gonna end up happening? I don't know. I do know what's gonna end up happening is that I am looking forward to the fact that after next week I won't be reviewing any more Star Trek Discovery episodes, that's for sure. Now there are a couple of series I've been thinking about reviewing, not sure yet, but one of them might be Cobra Kai. I might, go ahead and, binge watch the season and give overall season reviews for Cobra Kai since third season starts, I believe, tomorrow. I could be wrong, but I believe it's tomorrow. And then another series I'm thinking about reviewing because I grew up liking it, back in '84 when it, first came out. And I want to watch the rest of this new second half of the series. I've already watched the first part, but there's this new second part that I'm going to watch too, and I'm probably going to lump the review into one particular review. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure that one out, but it's the Transformers War for Cybertron, Siege, and Earthrise series that's on Netflix. So I'm just gonna, watch over the first half again, and start what, excuse me, start watching Earthrise, and I'll give you my overall review of those. And if you have anything that you'd like me to review, please tell me. It's going to be the same format where, I'll probably go all over the place, but I'll give you my honest opinion of the episode. And honestly, this episode, it was okay, but being that I'm not a fan of Discovery, never claimed to be a fan of Discovery, I've been trying to give the show a chance from season 1 all the way till now, and it's lost me. But this episode was okay, and like I said in the review for last week's episode that I did Sunday while playing Star Trek Online, I am tired of stories in Star Trek where the ship and crew are taken hostage and the ship and crew have to reclaim control of their ship. I'm just tired of those episodes. It's happened far too many times. It happened in the original series. It's happened in Next Generation, Deep Space Nine, Voyager, Enterprise, Discovery. Heck, I wouldn't be surprised if it happens in Picard or Lower Decks. But I'm just tired of the same old stories. And yeah, I did notice that this episode was directed by Jonathan Frakes, Commander Riker. And, even with him directing, him directing 19, 20 episodes, it could be more than that. of various Star Trek series. You know, even that doesn't make an episode completely watchable. And like I've said, I'm gonna say it one last time. You all know how I feel about the series. I review this series because, as I've said earlier, not in this episode, but I've said in previous episodes, that I'm committed to reviewing this season. But as far as reviewing the fourth season, you know, I, I'm not gonna do it. I'm not gonna do it, even though I will admit that episode prior to last week's does make it a little difficult because of the viewership I've gotten on both Twitch and YouTube for that episode. It does make it a little bit more difficult to just stop after this season, but I don't know. Right now, I'm strongly going with not reviewing Discovery after the season, but we'll see. We'll see. That could change. I have to think about it because, you know, surprisingly, and I know I'm a small YouTube channel, I know I'm a small Twitch streamer, but surprisingly, those reviews have actually gotten more views than I expected. I'm not talking hundreds, I'm not talking thousands. I'm talking, double digits. They've gotten double digits, which, for right now, trying to get this channel growing, whether it be the YouTube channel or Twitch channel, I'm happy with. Yes, in 2020, I wanted both channels to grow even more. I want to be able to produce better content than what I do now. But the only one that can do that is me. The only one that can, you know, make the strides to give you guys better content is me. I don't know how many of you have seen my Wonder Woman 1984 review that I did on my YouTube channel. Now, I know it's only gotten 5 views. And yes, this is my way of asking you to view it. You're going to notice that the video quality is not very good. That was done intentionally. That was done intentionally to try to give it the effect that you're watching it on an old standard definition tube TV, and it's been recorded on a tape, and this tape's been locked in a vault for 30 plus years. So what you see in that review is just me just trying to have a little fun with it. And I do plan on doing another Pacific 4 movie review, and I'm just gonna tell you what it is, man. You know, everything I say about that movie, well, yeah, that's like my opinion, man. Mm-hmm. That's gonna be the next one I'm gonna do. The Big Lebowski. So I do have one thing so far that I'm going to be using for it. I might try to get, a couple other items. We'll see, but I do have one item that I'm going to be wearing during that review, man. And, well, if you like it, once it's uploaded, let me know. If you like any of the content you see, whether it be on Twitch or YouTube, please let me know. I will respond to comments because, I feel that you all have taken your time to watch whatever it is I put on the YouTube channel, whatever it is I put on the Twitch channel, and I will respond. And I appreciate each and every one of you for watching the YouTube channel and Twitch channel this year. I thank you all very much. Whether you've liked everything I put up on the channel, whether you haven't liked everything I put on the channel, I, that's neither here nor there. I just want to thank you all very much for watching my content. I really do appreciate it. I really do appreciate those of you who have followed the Pacific 414 Twitch channel and those of you who have subscribed to the Pacific 414 YouTube channel. And I do ask that if you haven't followed or subscribed to either channel yet, please do so. I would greatly appreciate it. Even if we have disagreements on Discovery, let's have a discussion. There's bound to be something else that, you know, we like, and, we can go back and forth on that. Yeah, we're probably going to have different opinions, but that's okay. Because I just want you all to know I really do appreciate you watching my live gaming streams. I appreciate you watching all the videos that I've uploaded. I appreciate the fact that you watch these reviews. I appreciate those of you during, this last summer and even last year before I taken the YouTube channel down and then reactivated the YouTube channel after taking it down. Those of you that watched the box score last year, those of you that watched the box score this year, I appreciate all of you. Those of you that have watched my box score Mount Visit episodes, thank you. Because that's what I just want to tell you all. Thank you for, helping this channel grow. And I hope that in 2021, we can all continue to enjoy the content and watch this channel grow and, create a community, like I've been saying. Create a community where, love it or hate it, we're still here, we're still watching, we're still conversing, and we're having fun doing it. And if you haven't done so already, please give me a follow on Twitter and also the Pacific 414 YouTube and Twitch Facebook group. I would greatly appreciate that. I will put up those right there we go. Like I've said before, one-man show. But, you can find me on Facebook at Pacific 414, YouTube /Twitch. You can find me on Instagram at Pacific _414. And you can find me on Twitter at Pacific 414. So, once again, I just want to let all of you know how much I appreciate you. Thank you all very much. Thank you all very much for just letting me ramble and, run my mouth. Appreciate you all greatly. And, I do want to say one thing. I did get a comment on my Terra Prime Part 2 episode saying I must be Phantom Menace. Now, if you don't know who the Phantom Menace are, they are content creators who are, having their own thoughts, their own views on, pop culture and different shows and movies going on. Now, if I gave a review and it seems like, one of their reviews, how it's not hard to think that, some people have similar viewpoints. We all have viewpoints that are different, but we all have some similar viewpoints. We can agree on a lot of things. We can disagree on a lot of things. But I don't consider myself Phantom Menace. I just consider myself someone who is going to give you an honest reaction, an honest review, which is what I try to do, whether I'm doing an episode review, a movie review, or I'm giving a post-game reaction to the latest Chicago Cubs game. I try to give you an honest reaction. I want to give everybody what, you're here to see. You're here to see a review. You're here to see a reaction. I don't want to sugarcoat it if I don't feel I need to sugarcoat it. If, say I'm doing an episode of the box score and the Cubs, you know, they play lousy, but they play like shit. Well, I'm going to tell you, they played like shit. If I felt a movie was bad or, it was crap, I'm going to tell you, this movie is crap. If I liked an episode or a movie, I'm going to let you know that I liked that episode or movie. And, say with the episode reviews for Discovery or any other show. If I don't like the episode, you're going to know it. Because you're going to get you're going to get me. That's all I have to say. And you're going to get me. You're either going to like it or you're not. But you're going to get me, and even then, I still appreciate each and every one of you stopping by the respective content channels on Twitch or on YouTube. Appreciate any of the comments I've gotten on my WWE uploads, which I do have some more that I want to put together, but I've tried to, piece together, and I don't mind telling you all this, but I'm trying to piece together, some highlights of my trip to WrestleMania 7 years ago. So I'm trying to find the best moments and also make sure that the viewer can actually see what was going on. If it's a video or picture where there's too many people in front of the camera, then that won't be in the video. But I'm just trying to spread some of the things that either I have loved or I still love. I still like to watch movies. I still like to watch TV shows. You know, I haven't found too many current TV shows that I like, but if I find it, I'll review it. And, well, I guess that's all I have to say, except, I wish you all a Happy New Year. I hope everything ends up turning around in 2021, because 2020 has been one hell of a year for a lot of us, and, better times to come. That's what I hope for. Better times for all of us. Thank you all very much. Thank you for letting me just ramble. And I will see you later, and I will let you know there's a possibility, but it's not concrete. There is a possibility that there will be either a Saturday night Frontiers with myself and TKO or a Sunday night Frontiers with myself and TKO. I asked TKO if he wanted to do a stream this weekend. He said yes. Now we're just trying to figure out what day, whether it be Saturday or Sunday, is going to work best for us. So, as soon as I know something, I will post it on the Twitter page. But thank you all very much. Have a happy New Year, and I will see you over the weekend. Even if it's not Friday Night Frontiers, Saturday Night Frontiers, Sunday Night Frontiers, I will see you over the weekend at some point. Thank you all very much, and once again, Happy New Year. Happy 2021. Wait a minute. Does that mean that 2020 has gone from being 20 years old to 21? It could legally drink? Oh gosh, I hope next year's a good year. All right, guys and gals, I'll see you later. Take care. Take care, my friends.